20, Impatience. When I woke up, I was confused. My thoughts were hazy, still twisted up in dreams and nightmares. It took me longer than it should have to realize where I was. Well, you're an idiot. This room was too bland to belong anywhere but in a hotel. Hey! The bedside lamps bolted to the tables were a dead giveaway, as were the long drapes made from the same fabric as the bedspread and the generic watercolor prints on the walls. I did remember the sleek black car, the glass in the windows darker than that on a limousine. The engine was almost silent, though we'd raced across the black freeways at more than twice legal speed. And I remembered Alice sitting with me on the dark leather back seat. Somehow during the long night, my head had ended up against her granite neck. My closeness didn't seem to bother her at all, and her cool, hard skin was oddly comforting to me. The front of her thin cotton shirt was cold, damp with the tears that streamed from my eyes until, red and sore, they ran dry.
So Alice is a saint.
Yes.
That's facts.
Like this random chick I barely know, just sobbing on my shirt for hours.
Sleep had evaded me, my aching eyes strained open even though the night finally ended and dawn broke over a low peak somewhere in California. The gray light streaking across a cloudless sky stung my eyes, but I couldn't close them. When I did, the images that flashed all too vividly, like still slides behind my lids, were unbearable. Charlie's broken expression, Edward's brutal snarl, teeth bared, Rosalie's resentful glare, the keen-eyed scrutiny of the tracker, the dead look in Edward's eyes after he kissed me the last time. I couldn't stand to see them, so I fought against my weariness and the sun rose higher. I was still awake when we came through a shallow mountain pass, and the sun, behind us now, reflected off the tiled rooftops of the Valley of the Sun. I didn't have enough emotion left to be surprised that we made a 3-day journey in one. I stared blankly at the wide, flat expanse laid out in front of me.
Whew, you just got through a marathon of a sentence.
I really did, though. That was the end of it.
It's a long ass sentence.
It was like the whole paragraph.
It's a full paragraph of a sentence.
The shadows of the palm trees slanted across the freeway, defined, sharper than I remembered, paler than they should be. Nothing could hide in these shadows, but I felt no relief, no sense of homecoming. Which way to the airport, Bella? Jasper asked. Stay on the I-10, I'd answered automatically. We'll pass right by it. Are we flying somewhere? I'd asked Alice. No, but it's better to be close, just in case. I remembered beginning the loop around Sky Harbor International, but not ending it. I suppose that must have been when I'd fallen asleep. Though now that I chased the memories down, I did have a vague impression of leaving the car. I had no memory of this room. I looked at the digital clock on the nightstand. The red numbers claimed it was 3 o'clock, but they gave no indication if it was night or day. No edge of light escaped the thick curtains, but the room was bright with the light from the lamps. I rose stiffly and staggered to the window, pulling back the drapes. It was dark outside. 3 a.m, then. My room looked out on a deserted section of the freeway and the new long-term parking garage for the airport. It was slightly comforting to be able to pinpoint time and place. I looked down at myself. I was still wearing Esme's clothes, and they didn't fit very well at all. I was on my way to find new clothes when a light tap on the door made me jump. Can I come in? Alice asked. I took a deep breath. Sure. She walked in and looked me over cautiously. You look like you could sleep longer, she said. I just shook my head. She drifted silently to the curtains and closed them securely before turning back to me. We'll need to stay inside, she told me. Okay. My voice was hoarse. It cracked. Thirsty, she asked. I shrugged. I'm okay. How about you? Nothing unmanageable, she smiled. I ordered some food for you. It's in the front room. Edward reminded me that you have to eat a lot more frequently than we do. She would know that. She's not an idiot.
No, she's not. She was human.
Even if she didn't have any human memories, like you've been living with them. You know they have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's on every restaurant menu. Anyway, I was instantly more alert. He called? No, she said, and watched as my face fell. It was before we left. She took my hand carefully and led me through the door into the living room of the hotel suite. I could hear a low buzz of voices coming from the TV. Jasper sat motionlessly at the desk in the corner, his eyes watching the news with no glimmer of interest. I sat on the floor next to the coffee table, where a tray of food waited, and began picking at it without noticing what I was eating. Alice perched on the arm of the sofa and stared blankly at the TV like Jasper. Sounds creepy. I ate
It's very like Poltergeist. Staring at the TV.
I ate slowly, watching her, turning now and then to glance quickly at Jasper. It began to dawn on me that they were too still. What's wrong, Alice? I asked. Nothing's wrong. Her eyes were wide, honest, and I didn't trust them. What do we do now? We wait for Carlisle to call. What do you think they're doing? Carlisle wanted to lead the tracker as far north as possible, wait for him to get close, and then turn and ambush him. Esme and Rosalie were supposed to head west as long as they could keep the female behind them. If she turned around, they were to head back to Forks and keep an eye on your dad. So I imagine things are going well if they can't call. It means the tracker's close enough that they don't want him to overhear. And Esme? I think she must be back in Forks. She won't call if there's any chance the female will overhear. I expect they're all just being very careful. Do you think they're safe? Really? Bella, how many times do we have to tell you that there's no danger to us? Would you tell me the truth, though? Yes, I will always tell you the truth. Her voice was earnest. I deliberated for a moment and decided she meant it. Tell me then, how do you become a vampire? My question caught her off guard. She was quiet. Edward doesn't want me to tell you that, she said firmly. But I sensed she didn't agree. That's not fair. I think I have a right to know. I looked at her, waiting. She sighed. He'll be extremely angry. It's none of his business. This is between you and me. Alice, as a friend, I'm begging you. She looked at me with her splendid, wise eyes, choosing. I'll tell you the mechanics of it, she said finally, but I don't remember it myself, and I've never done it or seen it done, so keep in mind that I can only tell you the theory. Okay. As predators, we have a glut of weapons in our physical arsenal. The strength, the speed, the acute senses, not to mention those of us like Edward, Jasper, and I who have extra senses as well. She smiled a wide, ominous smile. We're also venomous, she said, her teeth glistening. The venom doesn't kill, it's merely incapacitating. It works slowly, spreading through the bloodstream so that once bitten, our prey is in too much physical pain to escape us. Of course, there are always exceptions. Carlisle, for example. So, if the venom is left to spread, I murmured, it takes a few days for the transformation to be complete, depending on how much venom is in the bloodstream, how close the venom enters to the heart. As long as the heart keeps beating, the poison spreads, healing, changing the body as it moves through it. Eventually the heart stops and the conversion is finished. But all that time, every minute of it, a victim would be wishing for death. It's not pleasant, you see. Edward said that it was very hard to do. I don't quite understand, I said. We're also like sharks in a way. Once we taste the blood, or even smell it for that matter, it becomes very hard to keep from feeding. Sometimes impossible. So you see, to actually bite someone, to taste the blood, it would begin the frenzy. It's difficult on both sides. The bloodlust on one hand, the awful pain on the other. Why do you think you don't remember? Then, without any warning, Alice leaped from the bed, landing lightly on her feet. My head jerked up as I stared at her, startled. Something's changed. She reached the door at the same time Jasper did. He had obviously heard our conversation and her sudden exclamation. He put his hands on her shoulders and guided her back to the bed, sitting her on the edge. What do you see? He asked intently, staring into her eyes. Her eyes were focused on something very far away. I sat close to her, leaning in to catch her low, quick voice. I see a room. It's long, and there are mirrors everywhere. The floor is wooden. He's in the room, and he's waiting. Where is the room? I don't know. Something is missing. Another decision hasn't been made yet. How much time? It's soon. He'll be in the mirror room today, or maybe tomorrow. It all depends. Jasper's voice was calm, methodical, as he questioned her in a practiced way. What is he doing? He's watching TV. No, he's running a VCR in the dark, in another place. Can you see where he is? No, it's too dark. In the mirror room, what else is there? Just the mirrors and the gold. It's a band around the room, and there's a black table with a big stereo and a TV. He's touching the VCR there, but he doesn't watch the way he does in the dark room. This is the room where he waits. Her eyes drifted, then focused on Jasper's face. There's nothing else? She shook her head. They looked at each other, motionless. What does it mean? I asked. Neither of them answered for a moment, then Jasper looked at me. It means the tracker's plans have changed. He's made a decision that will lead him to the mirror room and the dark room. But we don't know where those rooms are? No. But we do know that he won't be in the mountains north of Washington being hunted. He'll elude them. Alice's voice was bleak. Should we call? I asked. They traded a serious look, undecided, and the phone rang. Alice was across the room before I could lift my head to look at it. She pushed a button and held the phone to her ear, but she didn't speak first. Carlisle, she breathed. She didn't seem surprised or relieved, the way I felt. Yes, she said, glancing at me. She listened for a long moment. I just saw him. She described again the vision she'd seen. Whatever made him get on that plane, it was leading him to those rooms. She paused. Yes, Alice said into the phone, and then she spoke to me. Bella? She held the phone out toward me, and I ran to it. Hello, I breathed. Bella, Edward said. Oh, Edward, I was so worried. Bella, he sighed in frustration. I told you not to worry about anything but yourself. It was so unbelievably good to hear his voice. I felt the hovering cloud of despair lighten and drift back as he spoke. We're outside of Vancouver. Bella, I'm sorry, we lost him. He seems suspicious of us. He's careful to stay just far enough away that I can't hear what he's thinking. but he's gone now, and it looks like he got on a plane. We think he's heading back to Forks to start over. You don't have to worry, though. He won't find anything to lead him to you. You just have to stay there and wait till we find him again.
I feel like that guy would have a hard time. That looks great, Claire. I feel like James would have a very hard time in an airport, also getting through security.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I'm just like picturing like going through TSA.
Well, especially because they always live like those particular ones are like roamers, like they're all dirty and living in the woods. So he has a passport in his back pocket.
Why would he have an ID? He's not wearing shoes.
He's not wearing shoes. Yeah, that's
He's a flight risk, but also shouldn't be able to fly.
What if he just like held on to the plane?
Run and hold on, like hang gliding.
I just imagine him like clinging to it with his hands, but his body's like flapping in the wind. Like, and you're sure Charlie's safe? Yes, Esme won't let him out of her sight, and we'll be there soon. If the tracker gets anywhere near Forks, we'll have him. I miss you, I whispered. I know, Bella. Believe me, I know. It's like you've taken half myself away with you. I mean, I laugh, but I have a very uncomfortable feeling that I would be pretty pathetic if someone said that to me.
We'll see, maybe someday I'll be an absolute marshmallow, but...
What a marshmallow.
Marshmallow.
I don't know why I don't keep tabs where I stop.
Oh, it's just after I miss you, because I come and get it then, I challenge.
Come and get it then.
If you wanna come and get it, na 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 na.
I knew as soon as you said that was gonna be sung by one of us.
Soon, as soon as I possibly can. I will make you safe first. His voice was hard. I love you, I reminded him. Could you believe that despite everything I put you through? I love you too. Yes, I can actually. I'll come for you soon. I'll be waiting.
Swoon.
Swoon. I turned to give the phone back to Alice and found her and Jasper bent over the table where Alice was sketching on a piece of hotel stationery. I leaned on the back of the couch, looking over her shoulder. It's a ballet studio, I said, suddenly recognizing the familiar shapes. They looked at me, surprised. Do you know this room? Jasper's voice sounded calm, but there was an undercurrent of something I couldn't identify. It looks like a place I used to go for dance lessons when I was 8 or 9. It was shaped just the same. They're all the same shape.
I was gonna say, I have gone to so many dance schools in my life. I couldn't tell one from another.
Alice and Jasper were staring at me. Are you sure it's the same room? Jasper asked, still calm. No, not at all. I suppose most dance studios would look the same. The mirrors, the bar, it's just the shape that looked familiar. I touched the door, set in exactly the same place as the one I remembered. Would you have any reason to go there now? Alice asked, breaking my reverie. No, I haven't been there in almost 10 years. I was a terrible dancer. So there's no way it could be connected with you? Alice asked intently. No, I don't even think the same person owns it. I'm sure it's just another dance studio somewhere. Where was the studio you went to? Jasper asked in a casual voice. It was just around the corner from my mom's house. I used to walk there after school. I didn't miss the look they exchanged. Here in Phoenix, then. His voice was still casual. Yes, I whispered. 58th Street and Cactus. We all sat in silence, staring at the drawing. Alice, is that phone safe? Yes, she reassured me. The number would just trace back to Washington. Then I can use it to call my mom. Jasper? Alice asked. He thought about it. I don't think there's any way it could hurt. Be sure you don't say where you are, of course. I reached eagerly for the phone and dialed the familiar number. It rang 4 times, and then I heard my mom's breezy voice telling me to leave a message. Mom, I said after the beep, it's me. Listen, I need you to do something. It's important. As soon as you get this message, call me at this number. Alice was already at my side, writing the number for me on the bottom of her picture. I read it carefully, twice. Please don't go anywhere until you talk to me. I love you, Mom. Bye. I closed my eyes and prayed with all my might that no unforeseen change of plans would bring her home before she got my message. I thought about calling Charlie, but I wasn't sure if I should be home by now or not. I concentrated on the news, watching out for stories about Florida. Anything that might send them home early. I must have fallen asleep on the couch, waiting for the phone to ring again. The touch of Alice's cold hands woke me briefly as she carried me to the bed, but I was unconscious again before my head hit the pillow. End of chapter.
That's some good sleep, though.
Yeah.